Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
And the name of the show is Deep Space Babylon 59. Last week we tackled 2 episodes we absolutely loved. And this week we're tackling 2 episodes.
Okay, so...
Yes!
I've said that there's an episode that we're going to get to. That's the episode that made me like the show. This is that episode.
That made you like the show?
Yeah, I'm like 15, 16.
Weird!
I'm like 15, 16. I see this episode, and it blows me away.
This is one of the weaker episodes so far.
No, I agree.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
No, I agree. But you can see where my brain is and where my mind is.
You probably hadn't considered some of the ethical quandary and
some
dilemma
of the fate
in
stuff.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I told you I was worried going back to this episode. I'm like, I bet there's a bunch of Star Trek episodes that do this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and this is definitely one of those. This one is real... It's a little ham-fisted, I think.
Yeah.
It goes... I don't know. I think it goes too far. But we'll talk about it. So, this one is our first major Dr. Franklin-centered episode.
Yep.
And I loved Franklin before this episode.
Really?
Yeah. And we'll see if I if I start to love him again. But he got genericified for me this episode. This was very much let's cast him as this super arrogant character that has this big lesson he has to learn so that he can get some humility. And my big hang up is, how has he not dealt with something like this before? I had a tough time with that. And I never saw him as super arrogant before. I thought he was just confident and owned it and earned it. And now all of a sudden he's just super conceited. And, like, I don't even mind his holding to his convictions the way he does, and ultimately deciding to go against, Sinclair, and the decision Sinclair decides that he has to make. And some of the politics in this are interesting and complex enough, and I like them.
Well, I think a problem with this episode on the whole,
yeah.
I think all the dialogue's heavy-handed.
It's not a good script.
I don't think... Yeah, it's not.
Or at least dialogue-wise, it's not good. This is David Gerrold, who wrote The Trouble with Tribbles.
I mean, this is the complete other side of that.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? And I mean, he had a long career. I'm sure he wrote all kinds of different sorts of stories.
Right,
but,
right.
I don't know. It felt like... I hate to say this because it sounds bad, but it watched me like a 60s writer trying to write a 90s show. And we didn't have that with Fontana, but she didn't stay stuck in her decade, and I feel like he did a little bit.
Yeah.
Especially dialogue-wise and vernacular-wise, and, that kind of thing.
Yeah, the characters are written off.
All from the very beginning.
Yeah.
That conversation with Garibaldi and... what's her face? I can never remember her name.
Ivanova.
Ivanova, thank you. Is just bad.
No, it's really
bad.
It's really bad.
A good conversation.
Well, and this is the worst B-plot we've had the entire season.
Nothing, and it's...
Can you tell me what happened in the B-plot?
Not exactly. I mean, there's a space donut. She's all stir crazy, Ivanova. She's kind of the con officer lady. She wants to get off the ship. That scene was so pointless. You could have just had her from the beginning of the episode in a ship, but see, he didn't come up with enough for her to do in the fighter thing. So he was like, well, we'll have this and like, I don't know. I guess it tells us something about her that there's just not that... There's very often, on a slow date, not that much to do there. Like, it could have been played as a more fun riff on, like... characters in a thing like Star Trek that just stand around and push buttons all day, and on a slow day, people in Star Trek, for instance, are always standing around pushing buttons, and you're like, what are you doing? What is happening when you push the buttons? Nothing is going on right now, and there's 1,000 people that have to run this ship or space station or whatever. And so it could have been a fun riff on that, but it's kind of just a setup to get her out there, and she could have just been out there. Yeah. She's like, oh, I'm stir crazy. I'm a really good pilot. I've logged this many hours. Hint, hint, nut. Fine, you can go out there. Okay. And I say it was with Garibaldi. It must have been with Sinclair.
Yeah, it's with Sinclair. Yeah. There's a line that she has that I think works better in prose or in a comic book. It doesn't work spoken. Where she says, "I will walk. I'll go over here and I'll walk to and fro my console.
Maybe throwing too.
Yeah,
that's where it felt like. That's where, but it's also where it felt like a '60s line in a '90s show. If that had been in a TOS episode, you wouldn't have batted an eye at it. But it doesn't sound contemporary enough for this show.
But I think you get away with it if you're writing like a comic book, or I think it reads better than it does spoken.
Yeah, sure. But it felt like a TOS line to me. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway,
you know that better than I would.
Yeah. I don't know. But anyway, so the main conflict here, and it's 90% of the episode, and I think it's dragged out. I think it goes on a little too long.
I agree. Well, and I think the scenes go on too long too.
Yes.
There's a lot of just. We're gonna sit down. We're gonna talk for a minute.
Padding out for time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
you know that conversation we had 5 minutes ago. Can we run through that again?
Yeah, no, you're right. It does kind of feel like that. And I mean, I like that we go through every kind of, permutation of what, like what theoretically we could do with the morality of this, and we deal with like everybody's different morality, and the politics that motivate them before what their actual ethics are. But you're right. I mean, there is some repetition in that. So anyway, we have this couple with a dying child from a planet that we just found out about from this new race, and they've come to Babylon 5 to try to go to Dr. Franklin, who has kind of a reputation like Dr. McCoy did as kind of or as Scotty on TOS is like a miracle worker for medicine. And he can, and this is a disease that can't be fixed on their world.
It's like a blockage in the lungs.
Yeah,
something like that.
But it's a routine surgery on Earth, and it's an easy thing to fix. But the problem is surgery, because their belief system won't allow someone to be cut open from their world, or their soul escapes, is what they believe with their religion. And so this is your kind of standard sci-fi situation of, well, what do you do when and not even just sci-fi, certainly just a standard dramatic situation. We've done this kind of thing in just medical procedurals.
I'm pretty sure House has episodes about this.
Sure, yeah, where you have, in order to save someone's life, you have to go against their religious beliefs, and where do you draw the line between respecting that and saving life, and whose rights and beliefs should take precedent, and it becomes more complicated when you have when it's something that would set a precedent, which is what Sinclair keeps saying over and over in this again in this episode, where where
it's because of continuity.
It's a legal, yeah, and that's great, but it's a legal issue. And now that's the best thing in the episode is that we go back to the fact that he made the other doctor, the bad actor doctor. We did this in the pilot. Save Kosh against Kosh's and Kosh's people's wishes because of diplomatic incident and that kind of thing. But this is where he draws the line. He says somewhere we have to draw the line, because otherwise it's going to look like we're putting Earth's interest above anybody else's interest, and we win every time, and we can't do that. Well, Franklin won't have it, and he says, I took an oath to do no harm, and I have to save the patient. And so even though and he sees it necessary to go to Sinclair and ask him to make a ruling on it. And Sinclair rightly at the end says, if you had just done it, we wouldn't have had this whole situation. You wouldn't have had to obey me. And that's and that is Gerald trying to make him more sympathetic, where he doesn't just make the call. He does kind of recognize the political issues at work, but then he does it anyway. He was always going to do it. So he goes ahead and does the surgery. And he assumes that he's right, and that he can convince them.
Yeah, and there's no way that it would go the other way, because it's saving a life. How would you ever vote against that?
So he tries to buy himself some time first before Sinclair makes his ruling by making for a second making the couple think that there might be some alternate way, which immediately I was like, that's a horrible idea. Why would you do that? Like false hope, he should be way against that. That bothered me, that he would go there. But anyway, so he goes there, and he has kind of the most fun line in the episode where he takes this like gelatinous thing, and well, not besides what Kosh said. That's a good point. I forgot about the Kosh thing. You'll have to help me remember that line. That was great. But anyway, he has this line where he says that this came from the planet Placebo, and I liked that a lot because that's what it is. I want to go to that planet. Everything is totally innocuous, but it'll give you whatever you need. And by the end of it, he can't convince them. Like I said, he thinks that'll buy him time, and he can turn them around. He doesn't turn them around, and so he finally decides, I'm going to do it anyway. And when he does the surgery anyway, they decide that their son completely predictably is not their son anymore, and that he's just a shell of a boy, and that his consciousness, his soul has left him. Let me pause everything for a moment, and because I just remembered this, and I want to make sure I bring this up somewhere, and mention that there is now I don't know if Franklin knows about this, and you'll have to remind me, because this might be just a Mari thing, or just or just the species with the telepathy, but because I can't remember where this was, but I had a reservation episodes ago about actually taking souls out of people and putting them in orbs.
Yes.
And I knew something like this would happen, and this is where that reservation comes from.
We know souls exist.
Remember, you asked me, like, does that bug you? And I was like, well, it depends on what they do with it. Yeah, they've already gone too far. Because we have proof
that souls exist.
That not only that souls exist, but that just cutting someone open wouldn't take them out. They could explain this to these people with science. Like, well, we know what a soul is, and this doesn't necessarily go against your religion. Souls may go where you think they go when they die, but we can pull one out of a person. Look, we have them! And another thing I wondered is, but like, is that something Franklin would know about?
I don't remember if he was involved in the episode.
I don't think so.
And, I mean, on the other side, I could see them being like, well, that's not what a soul is. That's not your spirit.
Sure, maybe so.
That's not your essence, or whatever, you know. Because they keep saying spirit. They don't say soul, they say spirit.
Yeah, and they don't say consciousness either.
Yeah.
And like, those are separate things.
I don't know.
So,
well,
maybe not. I don't know.
And the way they talk, it's very specific to their people.
Yes. And that's a really important thing, too.
Mm-hmm. They're the chosen one of God, or the chosen one of the egg. They worship the egg.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, but another thing I wondered with them was, how much of a body do you have to cut open before the soul is released?
Yeah, like does a paper cut?
Yeah, like if someone stabs you, do you have to go through ritualistic suicide? I had a hard time not.
And I have a thing about that where when he freaks out, he pulls out a knife. I was like, is a knife really the weapon of that people?
No, I don't think so. I think they would choke you, or they would drown you.
Well, and if they had weapons, it would be blunt force trauma weapons. Or
maybe the way they kill you is they think by releasing your soul, but then that makes them sadists. Mm. So I don't know. So that was weird. And I had a hard time imagining that planet not having like 6,000 ritualistic suicides every day. Like,
oh no, I got paper cut.
Like, and also, I bet. I had a hard time. I just thought of this. I'm having a hard time imagining a family on that planet with only one kid. Mm-hmm. You'd think you would have to compensate for all the deaths by having a lot more children. Every family should have 12 kids, because you'd lose a lot more people because they refuse. Because everybody would refuse treatment all the time. Like, their medicine has got to be, like, really primitive, mm-hmm. because how many things are solved by surgery? Like, they're not anti-medicine, they're just anti-surgery. But so much of medicine requires surgery, or is in tandem with a surgery, that they would have to have a really low life expectancy, and Gerald did not think out this race very well. Mm-hmm. I don't think.
Yeah.
So that was the whole thing. So anyway, the biggest problem in the whole episode is right at the end, when Franklin pats himself on the back for saving this kid's life, and telling his assistant, like, you owe me a steak because we had a bet and I won. I convinced them.
Do you want to talk about importing steaks?
We can talk about that in a minute. But they say they say we need the ritualistic or the ritual like burial or not burial but that's what it is the ritual shroud, and then they leave
of great journeys or something like that.
Yeah, right, that's what it is. Yeah. Of journey, and then we're gonna get on the transport ship and leave, and he's patting himself on the back. Oh, good, they've accepted him. What does he think changed between "Demon, get out! Where did you come from?" to now? And then it takes him too long to put it together, and then the assistant is looking up things about the culture, and then he finds out about the shroud, and then he puts it together. Oh no, I'm like, you are an idiot for having not thought that before, because I'm immediately like, oh yes, of course. Like, if we're not fooled, he's an idiot for not being fooled.
See,
or if there's not a chance, there was no chance. That's ridiculous. Furthermore, didn't the father say that
he would kill him?
Mom, didn't his dad say that he would kill him if he did the surgery? And then that's just completely dropped. Yeah. There's no discussion.
And that's a commercial break.
Yeah, and it wasn't. It couldn't have just been a threat, because he pulls a knife. Like, he was so adamant about it, he would throw his own life away. I don't know. That whole thing did not work for me.
Well, and it's funny because a year or two ago I watched this with an ex of mine, and like, when we get to the ending, she's like, well, this is so predictable. It was not predictable to me when I'm 14 or 15.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Or, 15, 16, something like that. When I see this blows my mind. I've never thought about this kind of stuff. And the politics stuff is probably going mostly over my head. I'm not thinking about that stuff, at least not this way.
Yeah.
So, like, I get to this episode, and I've probably read some stuff like Preacher and Hellblazer, but that's a really different kind of... that's a really volatile commentary on religion. This is just thinking about it and the ideas of belief and different people's belief. I don't know. When I was a lot younger, this was a really impactful thing for me when I watched it. It doesn't hold up particularly well.
No, that's fair. Yeah.
You have Smallville. I know you understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not saying that when Star Trek does this story, they've always done it way better than this. Mm-hmm. This is a little better than an Enterprise episode that does something similar to this. Pretty heavy-handed, I think. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing where it's you do what you think is the right thing, but you're not thinking about the about the cultural ramifications, where it's with a species that does not think like you. So you're having to deal with somebody else's morality. And when you get to the end, and I thought this was really predictable in Enterprise when we did it there, there's a thing where Trip Tucker, it's an episode called Cogenitor, and Trip Tucker is dealing with this gender-neutral character, which it's kind of a rip-off of a TNG episode that did this but differently. Mm-hmm. This cogenitor is not considered a person really in their society, and is there just to help two people have a child. You need this third person in order to have a child, mm-hmm. and whatever that person does. And then Trip thinks that this person should be allowed to read, so he teaches her.
That's why he brought me into his home.
So he teaches. I'm cutting that part out. So he clearly I did not cut this part out. He teaches her to. He teaches her to read. Him or her. It's played by a female actress. A female actress teaches her to read, and then at the end she commits suicide. Spoiler alert for that episode, but she commits suicide. Mm-hmm. Really similar to this episode, mm-hmm. and I thought it was laid on too thick there, and I thought he wasn't smart enough about it, and I felt the same way about it here. I like that there are ramifications, mm-hmm. and on paper, I mean, I don't like the B story, but on paper, I like the idea of having a parallel situation where someone takes the risk of going against the rules,
and it works out
well.
That story needed to be more in this episode, though.
Yeah, it certainly did, because you keep wondering why it's there, and then at the end you're like, oh, okay, it's okay. There's the thematic thing, and you feel like you feel like somebody just told you a moral lesson, as opposed to you're seeing things play out in a story about characters you're interested in. So yeah, not great.
Not
great. It's got its moments. It's not horrible or anything.
Do you want to talk about its moment?
Its moment, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so
because I can't remember the line right off.
Okay, so the couple, Dr. Franklin has made an official request that he be allowed to perform surgery. And the couple start going around to the ambassadors on the ship saying, like, can you help us? Can
There's kind of a montage.
Yeah.
And it's fun. I like it a lot.
I think it's the best part of the whole episode.
It is, yeah.
And we get Jakar, we get Londo, and then we get to Kosh, and the way they explain it is like, imagine this happened to your son, or imagine if it happened to you.
And it has!
And it has! And Kosh just says, I don't know if I'm getting it exactly, but it's around the ballpark of, the avalanche cannot be stopped.
Yes.
The time has passed for the pebbles to vote.
For the pebbles to vote. I love Kosh. I want to start talking like that. It's great. And the only thing that would have made that better would have been if the couple walked in and they were like, we're not sure. Is this the hour of self-loathing?
Was that a yes?
Can we please get a Vorlon watch? I need a Vorlon watch.
Well, we didn't figure out what the other hours are.
Do they ever do the hour thing again?
I don't recall.
Does he mention more hours?
I didn't cling on to that like you did. So
well, they do it twice, and that makes me want it everywhere. It's like the rules of acquisition. You need a bunch more of them. We made a book that's the rules of acquisition. Can I have a clock, please? We only need 12. Okay.
You write JMS. You see if he can put out.
Straczynski, if you ever do a sequel to Babylon 5, can you make the hours of whatever like a thing that's maybe it is, and I just don't know it yet. We'll find out. If there are 12 of them, oh boy, I'm making a clock. If there are enough to put on a clock face, even that's more than 12, oh, there's gonna be a clock.
No spoilers, but that would not be in the sequel to Babylon 5.
Oh. Why does a sequel if they give you remade it? Because remember he was talking about remaking it at one point.
Yeah. No, if you remade it, that'd be great.
That's what did I say sequel? I meant
you said sequel. You said a sequel.
No, sure. I meant remake. Yeah, okay, so I'm assuming something happens to the Vorlons, and I'm gonna be sad now, and I won't watch past it. Yeah.
Well, that's around the point that people generally say you should stop watching. So
the hour of it wasn't frolicking. What was it?
No, it wasn't frolicking. No, it was the hour of scampering.
Scampering. We need a Vorlon clock anyway. Yeah, that was.
Oh man, great. It's the hour of scampering. I gotta get to work.
Jakar was great. Everybody's reasonings were good
and different.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think the Minbari reason is kind of the most interesting, but I also think it's really easy to be like, well, then why would you get involved in any affairs?
Yeah.
But because the problem with the Minbari line of thinking is she goes, but Dr. Franklin also believes he is right because they say it's against their beliefs. I'm like, it's not the same kind of beliefs.
Yeah. It's not religious. Although you gotta give him that he is religious, and that. I mean, I feel like this show made now would be played very differently because there's kind of this assumption with even a lot of the humans of a god, just not necessarily a particular version of
but
God.
I think
there's a lot of that.
I think that's a thing. I think that's like even among atheistic friends I have and people that I listen to on podcasts things, everyone talks as if there is a god.
No, not anymore. Not anymore. That has not been my experience the last 5 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I hear that all the time. More in joking senses, I guess, not in serious.
No, sure, but in this because there's a whole exchange that he has with Sinclair, where Sinclair's like, what if there isn't a god? That wouldn't be the conversation with most people now.
Well, but he also says something about inventing God. What if we hadn't invented God?
That's true too. Yeah. So you're right. Both of those things.
Well,
are bad.
and I mean, JMS didn't write this episode. JMS is an atheist.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, and most characters in Trek are real neutral about the God thing. It's like it's kind of a big I don't know.
Yeah.
And well, we've seen too much, and we know how too much works now, so. We're not sure, and there's and
but it's the '60s, so we're not going to say it's not true.
Well, but then once you get to like 24th century stuff, TNG and DS9 and beyond, it's we do talk about it. And a lot of times, it's just real. Everybody's just real neutral.
They're like Buffy, but it makes more sense because there's not demons.
Yeah, Buffy.
And heaven.
Buffy, that does not. But if a cross repels a vampire, there's something to that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I digress. What else should we talk about with this particular episode?
I think that's it.
Sinclair was still way too over the top. I'm getting to the
I thought he was a
point
little
where...
reserved in this episode.
Oh, I did not. Maybe compared to some things we've seen him do recently. And some of it was, he had a couple of really bad lines of dialogue.
Yeah, he did.
Really ham-fisted lines of dialogue. But he's... Sometimes I feel like he doesn't know what show he's in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been somewhat problematic, and we know more about the history of that actor now, and that
he's struggling to make it through days.
That he had a condition, he was somewhat mentally unstable, and so I watch his performance and I find myself wondering how much of it is his acting ability and how much of it is his unfortunate medical condition, and so it makes me not want to be very hard on him. But when I'm not thinking about that stuff and I'm just looking at
the performance,
he's not great. He's not great.
And we do replace him, and the next guy's better.
Yeah.
So you've got that to look forward to. Although there are people that think he's the better commander. He's their favorite.
Well, I haven't seen his whole arc yet, so
yeah. And we should be getting to some of that stuff kind of sooner.
Okay.
I mean, we're halfway through the season at this point.
Yeah.
Or kind of. 10 episodes. It's probably, I think it's 22. I think it's 22 episodes, so...
Yeah, and DS9 is 26, so we'll have to deal with that when we get there.
Well, we originally talked about doubling up DS9 for 2 weeks.
Catching up.
Yeah, so we always start seasons together.
I think we should do that,
yeah. But yeah, no, I really... This episode means a lot to me when I'm a kid.
I can totally understand that.
Yeah. It doesn't hold up great. Especially, just like watching through it, I'm like, oh, everything around is way better than this. But things that affect you when you're younger. I mean, I also really like Daredevil.
Now that we've watched this together, there's a TNG episode I want to show you.
Okay.
Called Ethics. And it's it has
Patrick Stewart teach ethics?
No, but that would be wonderful. It has one of the silliest things in all of Star Trek, which is Worf's back gets paralyzed when a barrel falls on him. And it's just the best.
How does he keep his job? He's always getting taken out by people. Now he's getting taken out by barrels.
I know! But it is a situation. And that's also the episode where we find out about all of in that episode, we find out about all of the Klingons' redundant organs. So explain that to me. But anyway, that has a situation similar to this, and I'd like to show you that and see if you think it's
better. Is it about Worf's spine?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of interesting.
Uh-huh.
I'll check that out. Yeah, no. When I rewatched this a couple of years ago, I was like, oh, this is... I think I've seen this in other things. This is not as original and cutting as I thought it was.
Handled better, yeah. Well, and
I didn't think the ending was predictable initially. I mean, how much could I really have seen and read? But at 15, 16, whenever I'm watching this, but... I was really like, oh man, they went there. They let them kill that kid. And it's really predictable. It's really obvious that's what happens. I don't know.
Yeah, it probably would not have felt so as much then, just because it would have felt like a risk to let the kid die. That's true, certainly.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's an episode that I've been waiting to get to, and now I'm kind of bummed that we got to it.
Yeah, I think it might be maybe my second least favorite episode. I don't even know what my first is. I have to remember all the episodes. I know there's one.
The guy with the what is that? The artifact in his chest where he becomes half cyborg.
Oh yeah, that one's not great. Yeah.
And Sinclair's making fun of him jumping from shadow to shadow.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. All right. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to the DS9 episode, which is called Vortex. Yeah,
which is misleading. I mean, that's where it ends. It's not really what it's about.
Yeah, that's true.
And we don't even mention that until halfway through the episode.
Yeah.
So...
We're not always the best at naming episodes. There's some great DS9 episodes.
We're better than Gotham.
And North of the Battle of the Strong, there's a lot of really cool episode titles in DS9. And then you get things like The Ship. Alright.
So...
The Passenger. We dealt with that a couple episodes ago. Anyway.
So, there's a new science fiction coming out called Passengers.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's the one with Jennifer Lawrence and...
that looks interesting.
It looks interesting.
I want to see that.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway.
maybe we'll how we felt about it.
Thanks for dating this particular video, which otherwise would have been very easy to go back at any time, but...
Well, I mean, there's going to be a date right below this video.
That's true. YouTube
that
dated the
says...
video. Right. Mm-hmm.
Anyways, not that anyone ever looks at those before commenting.
No, they don't.
In 6 months, we get comments, hey, that movie just came out on DVD. What do you mean it's coming out in theaters?
Hey, why are you excited about that? Everyone thought it was horrible.
It's the next After Earth. It's After Earth mixed with Jupiter's Ascending.
After Earth 2, Passengers of Earth. Passengers for Earth. Anyway, sorry.
Well, based on the trailer, I'd say it's from Earth.
For the planet of the Earth.
I am here representing the planet of the Earth.
The Earth. Anyway, so...
Anyways.
Vortex.
So, this is an Odo episode.
Yeah. Finally.
So here's the thing.
Yeah.
Was I supposed to be aware that he was a sad, lonely being who didn't know anything about his people?
Yeah. Sure.
I didn't realize that.
No, they've given us enough about that, I think. I mean, enough that you would sort of... Maybe not just how sad he was, but that's supposed to be kind of the payoff of why he's reserved and keeps to himself.
No, that's not what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't realize he's the only of his kind, and it's a mystery as to who his kind are and where they're...
That is...
Maybe that's mentioned in the pilot.
That is
I don't think that comes in a lot.
Certainly in the pilot. Maybe we haven't talked about it enough.
Mm-hmm. You know, when like they start talking about like maybe they're from like the Gamma Quadrant, I was like, when did this happen? Like, I didn't realize there was a mystery.
One thing to keep in mind, of course, and sometimes DS9 doesn't handle this well enough, is that if you know Star Trek, you'll immediately be like, what is that guy? Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously we use species we haven't really dealt with before and stuff, but he's a regular character. He's a species we've never heard before. He's a shapeshifter. That's not a thing we've had.
But I don't know
lot.
any of that.
But you don't know any of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't realize that he was like...
So they're not keeping track enough of an audience that doesn't know this universe.
Yeah, I had no idea that there was a mystery to be had with him.
I thought you did know that.
I did not.
I didn't realize that.
I do now.
Yeah.
That's really my big takeaway from this episode. Is I found out there's a mystery with the changeling.
Because it's a slow burn and they don't give us much of anything.
Do we get answers?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Most certainly.
Okay, good. So...
And I'll tell you, it's some of the most interesting stuff in the show.
Oh, cool. Does this actually connect to it? Do we explain the keys?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, not the keys themselves exactly, but I was looking for stuff in this that's contrary to what we know about them later, and I didn't find much. I think they're doing.
It's easy to not be contrary because you find out that everything you're told in this episode is a lie.
But it's not.
Yes, it is.
What do you mean that everything's a lie?
Everything that guy says is a lie. He says to his daughter after Odo gets knocked unconscious, he says, I don't know anything about his species.
Oh, I didn't even catch that.
Oh,
Does he say that?
Yeah, he says that.
Oh, that's weird because a lot of the stuff he says, some of it kind of tracks, but...
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. I took that line as...
Do we ever know where he got the key then? Like how he got it?
Yeah. He says it's a thing that like some people... He explains that like it is just a thing that some people have. It's just it felt like it was like a smuggler thing. Like it's a thing that people use. It's like a skeleton key.
That's a thing I don't understand.
Okay.
Because I don't know why that would exist.
That's why I asked what if they explain the keys. Because
not that I know.
No, that's not like a family heirloom or like something that he was given. He that's like a...
No, he would have to have gotten it from changelings. Like... Yeah. Okay, that's weird. Anyway.
So the episode does make less sense than you thought.
Kind of does,
because everything was a lie, and apparently some of those lies were correct.
Well, yeah. I mean, some of the. I mean, everything he says about what happened to his family ends up being true.
Yes.
But not all the shapeshifters.
Yeah, but we find out that that's
okay. But
he was lying about all that. Some of it. Odo to
my assumption is some of it just comes from hearsay and stuff that he's heard before.
Yeah, well, because we do know
he would have to know something.
He was at least not lying about them existing.
Yeah. Okay, I'm treading lightly to not give away too much because I thought this episode actually told you more than it did.
Oh, okay.
And I forgot. I mean, I did not pick up. How did I not pick up on that line? He looks at his daughter, and I did not pick up on that line.
It's when she asks. I don't know. She asks something about like if he's going to be okay, and he goes, "I don't know anything about the species."
No, that's no. That you're reading too much into that. What he meant was, I don't know the anatomy of this species.
It's not like a doctor or anything. I read that as he's been lying this whole time.
No, I don't think you're right.
Especially because we go into the vortex.
I didn't realize that's what you were talking about. I don't think that's what that scene's meant to convey. Oh. I think it's just he got hit on the head, which, by the way, we'll talk about that, because what? But Odo gets hit on the head and goes unconscious. Noodle that for a minute, and she leans down and is like, "Is he gonna be okay?" And he's like, "I don't know anything about this." But I can't remember if he like had a tricorder and he was scanning him, or if he was just looking at him.
No, I think he was just looking at him.
Yeah, but like it doesn't matter if he's a doctor or not. If that was a human being or a humanoid, he could at least check his pulse. You see what I'm saying?
But the payoff to everything he's been saying is none of it's true. It's his daughter is here. He keeps saying there's this secret contingent of the eye that took me in.
And I knew it was a lie that there were changelings there, but that doesn't mean everything he said about them is a lie.
I got that impression.
Because but there are enough things he said that aren't a lie and could not.
But do they know that when they're writing this?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
No, they have to.
Do they?
There's at least one thing they have to know.
Okay.
Because there's more here that's real than you realize.
Well, and so I mean, some of it clearly is true. Where he's talking about how like when they were on my planet, they didn't go to our form and things like that.
And it can't. Yeah, you learn things like, as you say, like the changelings don't usually hold a humanoid shape, but also we got that key from the Gamma Quadrant.
No. It's very clear that the changelings come from
so
that.
He knows something about them. Okay.
Yeah.
See, I was being careful because I didn't know if you even trusted that they came from the Gamma Quadrant.
No.
They do.
No, I got that. It was It was all of the. You really are one of them. You act just like them, and like all of that stuff.
Oh sure, yeah.
Where I'm like, okay.
No, that stuff is made up, sure.
Okay,
but I don't think, or possibly, it's hard to tell. But
I get the impression he knows of them, but he has never met them. So when he says I don't know anything about the species, it's because he's never met them. He's never been around them.
Yeah, that's the reason. But
he's up to that point, he is acting like he's kind of chummy with this small tribe in the Vortex.
Yeah, okay.
We should talk about what this episode's in.
Now, yeah.
What this episode's actually about.
No, sure.
Now that we've talked about the ending, let's go to the beginning.
Well, the changeling stuff is what's most important here, and it is a slow burn.
Okay.
They're not telling us much of anything yet, besides they're from the Gamma Quadrant, and there are more of them. You know.
Do we explain how Odo got here?
Yeah.
Is he Kal-El?
No.
Is he Moses?
No.
Okay. So we open this episode, and it seems like it's going to be a Quark episode, and you thought it was a Quark episode.
The only reason I said that, because I didn't remember what happened in this just based on the title, is Netflix has just the worst descriptions of things.
I actually read that description.
I knew you would, because it made it look like a Quark episode. The picture on Netflix was a Quark picture, and I didn't remember what happened in that.
Well, I made this joke around.
Until it started,
based on the last episodes,
okay.
I'm excited to see what wacky, whimsical adventures Quark gets himself into.
Which he does have
Quark
one,
show.
Sure.
Yeah, and I have a question about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would like them to announce more clearly to me every time people that are from the Gamma Quadrant are on the station.
So would I.
Because sometimes I don't know.
And I'm a Star Trek guy. I mean, no, I would like them to do that too, because we do a lot of one-off Alpha Quadrant races, and the Gamma Quadrant races don't look any stranger than the Alpha Quadrant races.
Because I didn't know that guy was from the Gamma Quadrant until like a third of the way into this episode. Like when they start making a big deal out of the fact that he's from the Gamma Quadrant, I didn't know that beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
But so there's this guy at Quark's that he looks weird. But he's not. The thing is, he's not even the center of attention of the opening scene. He's just sitting there, and Odo mentions him so that we, the audience, know that he's going to be important later.
Uh-huh.
It's really about these twin guys who are Modari?
Something. It's not important.
Oh, I thought you said they were the race.
No, I told you they weren't. I told you that's a one-off race. Yeah.
Okay. Do we know if they're from the Gamma Quadrant or the Alpha Quadrant?
No, as I said, it seems pretty plain that they're probably an Alpha Quadrant race.
Okay. So, and they're an interesting...
Because they have to be, right? Because we just opened the wormhole, and he asks Cisco if he's ever met twins from their world.
Okay,
so
yeah.
they must be around and be Alpha or Beta. They've got to be around there somewhere.
Or they're not sure if anybody else of their race has come through yet.
No, I don't think that's it.
Okay. So the whole thing with them is that they're twins, and by the way, they're not important. But they're twins, and
yeah, there's another episode there that could be potentially interesting. We never know what happens to that guy without his twin.
Does he die?
I forget.
I think he might die.
But like, he seems real weak. So he has a twin.
Yeah, and I got the impression that this is how their whole race is? They're all twins that are psychically connected? Or is it just specifically twins in their race have this really strong connection where they are...
Because he says, have you ever met twin, whatever our race name is, makes me think that they're not all twins.
Okay. So they're like half people, like they're connected and like they share... They make each other whole is how he explains it. Like, I am no longer whole.
It's a symbiotic relationship.
So they go to make this deal with Quark, and the weird-looking guy from the bar shows up, which is an interesting statement given that Quark's there.
They're weird too, okay?
Yeah, and
like,
Quark...
They have this weird choker thing that was just the strangest. I couldn't stop staring at it. Did you notice it?
I did not.
Okay, the twins have this bizarre choker thing where they've got neck ridges, they've got neck bones that go up this way, right? They're more pronounced neck bones, and the choker goes through them. It's just the weirdest thing. They have these neck bones, and then the choker goes through. And I don't know, is it a fashion statement? Like, why would you want that? Like, when you worry it would like cut off, your airflow or something? Why would you want that? And once I saw it, I could not stop staring at it.
So the guy comes in and tries to rob them in the middle of their deal. He accidentally, I assume, kills one of the two brothers, and then there's an investigation. That guy gets put in prison. And I was kind of confused by Quark's involvement. I think I understand it, but they never, like, draw a line under it, and they're just like... Yeah, we think Quark was working with him. And then, like, you see Quark, and he's like, they're going to find out that I was working with him. And then scenes later, they're like, I think Quark was offering that guy passage back to the Gamma Quadrant.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay.
Yeah. I'm still not sure why Quark was stealing the thing he was bartering for. Why wouldn't he always do that? If that's the way he works. I don't know, that was all weird. But so what's really important is Odo goes to talk with this guy, and... He knows about shapeshifters, and he talks with Odo, and Cisco goes into the Gamma Quadrant to talk to that guy's planet, and they're like, he's a war criminal. He's a monster. We want him back because they're going to put him on trial.
He doesn't actually go there, doesn't he? Just call him.
Well, he gets in the vicinity of the planet. They fly there in a shuttle.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because he says, look for a ship just like this one.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. He'll look for a ship just... I forgot that part, yeah.
He's really...
I swear to God I watched this episode. That is early Cisco, and people always complain about that.
Yeah. I always hear about the later Cisco. This is not that Cisco.
It has certainly not anything like exactly the same situation, but has a somewhat similar like dilemma to Sinclair's. Where they
don't know what he is.
He has to decide if he's gonna, keep try him by our laws.
Oh,
if he's gonna send him back.
I thought you meant as a character,
which is a similar situation. No, just in this episode, which is a somewhat similar situation to. It's not the same thing. But it's all legal.
Yeah.
Is this a precedent we want to set?
Yeah. I mean. He thinks about it for like 5... He doesn't have any like real conflict.
No, he doesn't have any
now, to be fair,
a lot of reservation.
This is a situation that does seem pretty cut and dry to me.
Okay.
You want to try this person. He's already guilty on his home world. He's already been tried and found guilty.
Well, not tried. They don't try him.
Yeah, well, he tells us in a separate scene there is no trial.
Yeah, but the guy that Cisco talks to seems to kind of confirm that's the way they work, which is probably unintentional foreshadowing to the Cardassian justice system because they work exactly the same way.
But it did seem like that would make sense. Like, you return them to their planet where they're already guilty and are going to be punished. Why do another trial? Because we can punish them better?
I guess, or because you think it's unfair, but then it doesn't matter what you think because,
he's their
you
fugitive.
And you can't judge their system of government. That's what the Prime Directive is about.
Yeah. So
non-interference.
So it made sense to me, but I don't know. He seemed like he wanted to stand up and be like, "No, listen here." And he was like, "All right, well, another ship will come by."
I think the way they were trying to play it was it's just not a fight to pick today, but they didn't play it that way.
Yeah. Odo is the one, for some reason, to be the one to take the prisoner. Is there a reason that it's Odo? Other than the plot?
I think he's intrigued by the key.
Odo. You mean Odo is intrigued by the key?
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's not what I mean.
Okay, I don't know what you're talking about.
Why would he be the one that is sent? I'm not asking why would he go. I know why he goes.
Well, I think he...
Maybe he asks for it?
Yeah, and they don't really show that. But that, but I just assume that he... Yeah, I mean, that's not an assumption you could make. So I don't know.
It seemed weird that the head of security would also be the one doing the prisoner transfer.
Yeah, I don't think he usually would be. They probably should have had a scene where he's like, I want to take him.
But so he goes with this guy, and this guy makes this big deal about how there is this vortex, which... Why would you put a vortex in a show about a wormhole? There's no way that's not confusing.
Yeah.
But so
that's
there's this...
fair.
So, and the real bad at conveying space or like distance, it seems like everything is sitting right at the rim of the wormhole. I never have any idea
how far did we travel.
Yeah, and I have the same thing when we go into the vortex. Where I'm like,
once they went through though, we were at warp for a while. I mean, they had that whole exchange while we're flying.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
So it doesn't. I don't think it's fair to say it looks like it's at the mouth of it.
Okay.
Because remember, you've got all that like doublespeak and his trying to like convince Odo that he's a good guy and he's just like messing with his head.
Yeah,
like
he
Garrick,
is a good guy,
like Garrick, but not as well.
And I feel like this actor, who reminds me a lot of the guy that
that's
plays...
the thing I like the most about it, is that when you get to the end, it turns out he actually is a good person.
Yeah,
and that he's unfairly judged by a society that is messed up.
Yeah. He reminds me of the actor that plays Mozart in Amadeus.
Interesting.
I kind of wish it was that guy.
Yeah.
He would have a little bit more fun with this. My issue is I feel like he's playing two different characters. Maybe it's the 24 thing where he didn't know until he got to this point. He is playing a scumbag at the beginning of this episode, and he's playing a genuinely decent person at the end.
I can see both sides of that. Because... Like he doesn't trust anyone, so he feels the need to play things that way. And then once everyone knows, like he doesn't change his demeanor until Odo sees his daughter, and once that happens, he's acting like himself. I think it works potentially.
All right, so he spends all these lies to Odo about how in this vortex there's a colony of changelings. That like housed him when he was on the run, and like they accepted him and they were friends and everything. The guy from earlier with the twin, he comes after them and he follows them real fast because they go through the wormhole and then they go to warp, and then he gets information on a quark, and then follows Odo and the prisoner. That seemed easy.
That's fair. Yeah.
But so he's on them and he's shooting at them. And Odo has that great line. It's great if it's a joke. It's not great if it's supposed to be a tough guy line. Where he says, they put all kinds of weapons on this and I don't know what they are, but I hear they're real powerful.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
Because there's clearly no weapons on this ship, I don't think.
What, on the runabout?
Yeah. No, I thought it was just a shuttlecraft.
No, it's a runabout. I mean, it's the Ganges.
Oh, okay.
It's not just a shuttle, and even a shuttle, I think would probably have phasers. But no, it's got.
But it doesn't have like heavy duty artillery.
And they would have photon torpedoes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, okay.
I would think because a runabout is somewhere between a shuttlecraft and a starship.
Okay.
And if you're able to put and shuttles are always weird because with a starship you have a big giant warp core, but a shuttlecraft can also go to warp, and you wonder how in the world you're able to put that on a shuttlecraft. But anyway, I would think, well, if you can equip it with a warp core, why not weapons?
Sure. I don't know where you store them.
Well, I don't know where you store the warp core.
Yeah.
Well, you're right, because like your phasers usually come from the.
Yeah, where would you put a torpedo?
Yeah, I'm not
Let
sure.
alone many torpedoes.
Well, and
torpedi.
Yeah, they're don't do that. They're a little bigger than they look like from the inside, but it's still not like. Once we get to the Defiant, that's all a starship, and it's got decks and things. But anyway, but it doesn't have a deflector, and so anyway, I'm not.
And so this guy has this whole story about how.
I was going to say real quick, that exchange he has with the computer is sort of amusing.
Exchanges with the computer.
Yeah, when he's like, when he's like, computer, what's going on? He's like, there's the ship is being rattled because there's this weapon. He's like, oh, so we're being fired on then? Yes, that's what's going on.
So this guy tells Odo this whole story about how. I didn't fully understand what he did. He did something that his people didn't like. Maybe he was a protester. Maybe he was a terrorist. I don't know.
I wasn't sure. And then all of his family get killed.
Yeah, he did something rebellious. And the way their people work is that if you do anything against them, they murder your whole family.
Yeah, all we really got, if memory serves, is Odo. Odo is like, you're a murderer, and maybe you're all kinds of other things, and he's like, well, the punishment for everything on my planet is the same.
Yeah.
They murder your whole family.
Yeah.
But you're right, I don't think we know what exactly it was he did.
Yeah.
Maybe the idea is supposed to be it doesn't matter.
Sure. But so, we go into the Vortex, and we go to this planet where all the changelings are supposed to be, which was not played as nearly big enough of a reveal that there was nothing there.
I didn't think so either. It was almost as if the episode expected you to not think there would be, and so then there weren't. Like, I would expect it to play it up like maybe you're going to finally see where Odo comes from.
Well, and it kind of seems like it's playing it, like, it seems like it reveals that there's no one, and then he's like, and there's no reveal. Like, there's no reveal that there is no one, and he's like, but the key opens this door, and it's like, ooh, what's behind the door?
And then it's a girl.
It's a box. It's a girl in a box.
Okay, just a girl in a box.
Joss Whedon, you saw this episode. I know you did.
Did you expect it to go a lot further than it did?
With a girl in a box?
No, like we would go and find a planet of changelings or something. Like
maybe.
Okay.
I didn't know how important any of that was. I assumed we wouldn't, but I thought we'd have a discussion about the fact that we didn't.
Yeah.
When we didn't.
You'd think Odo would talk to Kira or someone.
Like they might as well have just like walked onto that planet, just like burr, 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 burr. But so the guy's daughter is in the box,
but he gets whatever he wants on Contestants Row. He said $1, and everybody else was way too high.
But so he gets
You win a girl in a box. $1.
So the guy's daughter is there, and they fly away. Something happens to the people chasing them. To the guy chasing him. I don't remember what. I think he might be dead because they kept talking about like the like gas pockets of like explosive energy, and Odo says the guy's like, if he keeps shooting this way, he's gonna make them all explode. And Odo's like, I'm hoping it does that. So I think that guy died.
I'm hoping for it. Yeah.
You guys go watch the episode. You tell us what happened.
No, and I would assume that that's what they would want to do because then they feel like they've wrapped that up so that we won't wonder what happens to the half-man without his twin.
And then, for no reason, there's a Vulcan ship on the other side in the Gamma Quadrant that's just going to take the people from Odo.
And take them back to Vulcan.
And take them back to Vulcan where they can live in hiding.
Like, no questions asked.
Yeah, I had questions about, like, okay, there's going to be a record of this.
Yeah.
How is Odo going to explain, like, he says, like, oh, I got them from, like, this thing, but his ship's not going to have logs of that.
Nobody's going to follow up. Like, yeah, it's not a Vulcan Starfleet vessel. It's a Vulcan vessel. But these random people are walking around. You think at some point someone might notice.
Yeah, that did not seem like a tie up in a bow. It seemed like someone somewhere is going to be filing paperwork, and you're like, this doesn't make sense.
And maybe this is unfair and going too far. It almost feels like it's for at least Star Trek fans, like it's trying to mask the implausibility and strange illogic of that, because it's Vulcan. The lack of logic of all of that with Star Trek fans going, oh cool, a Vulcan ship, we haven't seen Vulcans in the show yet, and like you start thinking about it at all and it falls apart.
Well, and we were having discussions about, are we searching the Gamma Quadrant? Why isn't that a bigger deal that we're sending ships in?
Yeah, because apparently the Vulcans are, and like if they're allowed to send ships in, why aren't we, or are we, or because I don't think there's really been any talk about it.
I'm surprised that we have not yet.
It just like exploratory vessel. Like obviously we're allowed to go in.
Mm-hmm. But I'm surprised that we have yet.
This is like there's more ships coming to us right now.
We're 11 episodes into this show.
Yeah.
I would think by this point we would have had an episode where the crew
where we go there,
where the crew of the first ship that's going to explore the Gamma Quadrant docks and refuels and gets ready, great. And you would tell that story. I would assume that we would have done that by now.
Well, and that would be I wish we'd done that, because that would have been a cool place to put like a cameo of somebody from TNG
who got promoted and is now captain, and yeah.
I would maybe put Ensign Ro on that ship, but I think she's doing stuff right now on TNG. But anyway, like there's people you could have.
Yeah. So I was like, why are the Vulcans in the Gamma Quadrant? I don't know.
Pulaski be the doctor on that ship. We haven't seen her in forever. That all kinds of things you could do.
I like that it was an episode focused on Odo, especially after 2 back-to-back Quark episodes, which I liked both of them. And then when I was like, really? 3 Quark episodes in a row?
Well, again, you call Move On Home a Quark episode. We see him more than we see anybody else, but it's not really a character episode for him exactly. When you and it's kind of neat that they do this. When you look at the episode the list on Wikipedia, they have a section on that where they say like who what character it revolves around, and Move Along Home says various.
Oh, interesting. But I like that we're getting an episode about Odo. I like that I now know that there is a mystery with Odo.
Yeah, it's interesting that you didn't pick up on that. Which makes me think that anybody that didn't know Star Trek would likely not pick up on that.
Especially watching week to week, because,
yeah.
If I marathon this, maybe I would remember that in the pilot there was something mentioned. But
11 weeks in, and for us more than that, because we skipped some weeks.
I would imagine most people were like, oh... there's a thing that I'm supposed to be paying attention to and interested in. But it was fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the season's getting better as it moves forward. Not that this is the best episode, but I feel like we're in a nice little string of episodes.
No, again, easily so far, the Negus is probably the best episode. But.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. But yeah, I like this episode, alright.
Yeah, it's fine. It's
it's not offensively bad.
No, like I said, the
guest star
reveal of the guest star is and where he's been the whole time is interesting. It is not what you would expect. It's not.
It should have been written better, though. It should have been a twist.
Yeah,
and it's not. Maybe it's not even the writing.
He's weirdly not any more sympathetic at the end than he is earlier, and I don't know how that works. But,
yeah.
But at least it's not predictable like I thought the Bad 5 episode was.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's got that going for it, but I can imagine...
Although that ending was really... easy.
No, it was. That's true.
Like when he was like, I want you to take her...
I just mean what it turns out is going on is not horribly predictable. But the way it's resolved is...
Yeah, where it's like, I want you to take her to back to Deep Space Nine with you. I was like, oh, maybe she's going to be like a supporting character. Maybe this episode's kind of important. I didn't realize it. And it's like,
that would have been cool.
Oh no, we can get rid of both of you. You can stay together. Especially after that guy's the worst at speechifying.
If you're going to do that, just go to some random planet and be like, hey, we have people and you're humanitarians. Take them.
But that guy is the worst
take him to Ryza. They can just drink lemonade all day.
With speeches, we're like, because he's talking to Odo, and he's like, you and me, we're alike. Except I know where I came from. I can go home maybe one day. I have a daughter and a family that loves me, and I'm gonna be safe. And I'm just gonna. And I'm like,
And also, I know nothing about you, so...
Yeah, how is this...
Odo doesn't know anything about where he comes from, man.
And then, like, he says... I don't even remember what he says to Odo, and he's like, and maybe one day you will, too. And it's like, that's not stirring. But he just had this whole thing about how he wants Odo to take his daughter with him because he knows Odo is lonely, and you need this.
Yeah.
And then the second that Odo's like, well, the two of you can go together, there's no, like, well, I hope you find someone that keeps, you know, that so you're not so lonely. Nope. He's just like, oh, cool.
Which makes it seem like he really was just using him the whole time.
Yeah, yeah. He kind of seems like a swindler and a con man who's out for his own ends that just happens to be a family, and therefore he's sympathetic.
Made us think he was more than that. And
yeah.
That's kind of... Anyway. Well, anyway, thanks so much for watching. We sure appreciate it. We'll see you again next week with another one. I am Captain Logan.
I am Eric.
Thanks for watching.